Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another exciting edition of Enter the Ring Live with your host, Mighty Mike. And
AJ Rage.
we are once again 2/3 of our broadcast crew here tonight. 1/3 of our broadcast crew is a very, very busy man. We're all busy, but I mean, he's busy, at the business right now, I believe, which
Yeah,
is a good thing.
it's a great thing. It's a great thing
Great thing.
considering
So,
what he's been through.
yeah, he had to shut it. Our brother Eric, who owns an escape room up in Gresham, Oregon, downtown Gresham, had to shut his business down for what, 6, 7, 8 months. An extended amount of time. And he's now, they're open, but in a limited capacity, and he's trying to build it back up. So obviously, he's got to take as much time as possible and spend it at the business. So I'm sure he'll check in with us in a little bit, like he did on Sunday.
Absolutely.
What's going on, AJ?
Oh man, just another day, man. Just got some good fights coming up. I was thinking a little bit more about Marvin Hagler over the last few days since our last show. Went back and watched some of his old fights. I actually got lucky and I watched the John Mugabe fight. I watched his fight against I don't remember Tony Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great fight too, man. I mean, it sucks that when you lose an icon like that and you kind of forget about them and you go back and you watch those fights, you're like, damn, you're always aching for a fight like that. And here he had one like that almost every year he fought,
Yeah, I know. And wasn't it ironic too, the way that battle took place on Saturday night was, and I'm not going to take full credit for this thought, but it's a very obvious thought. But a friend of mine said, almost like in homage and in honor of Hagler, those two little guys, Estrada and Chocolatito, went out there and just blood and guts. They fought like Hagler-esque. Hagler wasn't a mover and a guy that would hold and grapple. And I mean, he gave you action from round 1 to round 15 because, as we know, he fought mostly 15 rounders his entire career.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it was very that whole entire battle between Estrada and Gonzalez was very Marvin Hagler-ish. I mean, it was one of those things that just kind of kept you on the edge of the seat. I mean, you go back, you look at some of the battles that Hagler had over his career with. I mean, go back and watch Duran. You got to take your hat off to Duran. What a guy that was just tough as nails. I mean,
that was a great fight. Yeah.
So I mean, but we'll talk more about that later and stuff like this. But what do we got coming up, bro?
Well, a little bit of fallout from that fight. I don't think we touched on this on Sunday's recap show, but that one judge who turned in that one stinker of a scorecard, Carlos Sucre, was placed on temporary suspension by the WBA. It was funny. I was talking to Robert today, and he said, "What does that mean?" They send him away for a month on a vacation, and then he comes right back, and that's basically what it is. Same thing happened to Adelaide Bird after she turned in that scorecard in the Triple G Canelo 1. Turned in that 118-110 scorecard. They suspended her. She was gone for a month, and 4 weeks later, from the fight date, she's back in Vegas judging fights again. So, like I said, from an optics perspective, it was good, but we don't care about suspension. There has to be some financial ramifications. There have to be some permanent suspensions, not just that we're going to suspend you for a month and then we'll bring you back, put you in front of a review board, and then real quiet, where nobody can ask you any pertinent questions. And then, then they start assigning you fights again. We all know what happened in that case. We all know it.
Absolutely.
We know who was associated with the Strata, and we know how these Texas judges are.
Yeah. And it's sad because, I mean, it's boxing's kind of taken a page out of what's going on, even with our government. I don't want to get into the whole government thing right now, but, we got some people that are sitting up top right now that are making some decisions that are affecting a lot of people and destroying a lot of people's lives. In the same sense, when a judge makes a ridiculous decision like that, where they're not even, you have to ask yourself, did you even watch the fight, or did you already have it in your mind? You already have this premonition of what you were going to go ahead and write down, because it destroys careers. Maybe it didn't destroy Gonzalez's career, but it's definitely a setback at this point of his career at this age.
Yeah, because like we said on Sunday, what if this is the last time? Anything can happen from now until a trilogy happens. If in fact it does happen, anything can happen. He can be involved in. He could get sick. He could get coronavirus. He could get in a car accident and get hurt, even if it's not tragically hurt, but even something minor. Anything can happen to either fighter. Chocolatito was obviously very respectful after the fight, like we talked about. He did make some comments once he arrived back home in Nicaragua that he feels that it wasn't just an injustice that he didn't get the. He kind of put it like Nicaragua was cheated out of a victory, because he obviously fights for his country,
Hmm.
So, but I mean, I'm happy to hear that the WBA has at least taken some type of measures to at least call this guy out, and now his name is plastered all over, the, social media, the internet, boxing websites from here, to Australia, and people know that name, Carlos Sucre, and truth be told, I can never see that guy getting another high profile fight again. Just like Adelaide Bird, even though she's working some of the mid card fights and 4 and 6 rounders, I don't think she's been assigned a real major,
No,
a high profile fight. And if would you as a fighter, would
I
you
would want
ever
her.
agree to her as a judge for your fight?
No, not at all. And the thing is that we've seen it with, obviously we've seen it with referees in the past. The gentleman's name, it slips my mind right now, but I remember years ago when Lucian Boutte fight
Marlon Wright was his name.
against Andrade.
Librado Andrade.
Yeah, it was one of the most. I couldn't even put my mind around it when I saw the referee, how many times he kept pushing Andrade purposely to delay it and give Boutte even more time to get up after the shocking knockdown. But it looked like at one point he almost helped Boutte get up. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, and then the round ended I think 22 seconds earlier or something like this. But that was that.
I don't know if the round ended early, but I do know that they went back and counted. I mean, he had well over 20 to 25, I think 25 seconds.
Boutte was done.
He was done. He was out. In fact, the fight probably should have been waved off, but he allowed him to go down. And when he got up, but that gentleman's has expired since then, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wish anything bad on anybody, but it's already been done.
But we've seen that how boxing's now at a situation where referees and judges affect the outcome of some great fights and really just kind of put a little bit of tarnish on it. When you have an epic battle between two guys like what Estrada and Gonzalez did, and you have now if the scorecards were all close and it went to a majority decision to Estrada, you could see that. But when you have a card that is so just out of bounds, it right away it tarnishes that amazing event. It's basically telling Gonzalez, you didn't even try to fight.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it on Sunday, it didn't tell the story of what we saw with our own eyes, and neither fighter fought well enough. Both fighters fought great, but to say one fighter dominated the other fighter by a 6-round swing is just asinine, but whatever. So WBA, let's see if they actually do something with this, to see if this man, let's see if the WBC, IBF, IBO, WBO all follow suit and put this guy's name on a watch list. Because as far as I'm concerned, hey, this guy's past his prime. It's time for this guy to go find something else to do as a side gig,
No, absolutely.
I wouldn't let him. Personally, I wouldn't let that referee, I'm sorry, that judge score an amateur fight.
No, not at all. And the thing is, it's
a tough man fight.
But when you really, like I said, I don't want to pass the blame. But when you really go back to it and you really look at a lot of the stuff that's going on in boxing that's bad right now, let's be honest, it all starts at the top. It starts with the promoters and the matchmakers. When you've got a promoter who uses a group of judges all the time and certain
referees,
fights, already leveraging towards one person, we really got to do something where we kind of get away from that. You made a comment during the fight, an undercard fight with the guy, the little midget, the little short guy, that Raul Caiz Jr., a California referee, was refereeing in Texas. I actually don't think it's a bad thing. I think that we need to start doing more of that rather than using the hometown guys who are going to favor the hometown kids.
Yeah.
Because then, I mean, even in the UK situation, it's tough to get a fair shake against any UK. I don't know one good UK referee or judge. They're all, even their analysts are just so biased. I mean, it's like, from the time the guy walks in, it's like, go back to the Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara fight. Up to the time that Lara knocked him out, they were still trying to find ways to make it that it was still a close fight and Warrington had a chance.
Their UK's best referee, the guy that works all the high profile fights, is that older gentleman. His name Howard Foster. He is atrocious.
He's atrocious.
He physically cannot move and maneuver himself in the ring to even be in position to see what's really happening in that fight. And that's and the reason why I say that's the best is because he's their Mills Lane. Whenever there's a big high profile fight, if it's not somebody they bring in, he's the one that is assigned that fight. So
when your best looks worse than Lawrence Cole,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
got problems, you know. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
you know.
So okay, enough on that. Let's talk about some developments that have happened this week since we joined you guys a couple days ago. It was announced, I think early Monday, yesterday, all over social media and all over the media that Tyson Fury and AJ have officially agreed to a two-fight deal. The date and location has yet to be announced. I'm sure it's going to be announced probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. I'm guessing Wembley Stadium in the UK.
I,
What
I,
do you
I,
think?
I definitely think that, but let's say for some reason it's a little bit farther down the road than we think it's going to be. And let's say we get past a lot of this crap and they bring that back to Vegas, which Vegas desperately needs it right now with everything that's going on. Some people may not think it, but the
Yeah,
hardcore
yeah,
boxing fans gonna be like, dude, you put that fight in the Mecca where you're gonna really make the money. Don't get me wrong, Wembley's gonna be great, but if you want to make money at the gate, it's Vegas. And I'll tell you right now, Joshua Fury in Vegas, wow, wow,
yeah, and that would be a T-Mobile. That wouldn't be an MGM arena. That would be a
yeah,
T-Mobile, twenty
exactly.
thousand. Um, Tyson Fury likes fighting in America. He's
He
fought here
loves
several
it,
times. AJ's not had such good luck here in America. He
but he
came
may want
here.
a little bit of payback. He may want to say, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to fight over in the States because
yeah,
you don't want to go down in history as a guy who always just fought in his backyard. He's a
yeah,
tough guy in his backyard, but as soon as he walks on the front yard, he's running from everybody, so it doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
yeah, and that just yeah. I mean, I'm still leaning a little bit more towards Wembley, but if the dollar amount is right and the big site fee and the big upfront money comes from T-Mobile and they go, hey, we're going to put up this amount of millions of dollars to get that fight here, because you're right, Vegas is kind of coming back. Shows are coming back to Vegas. I keep getting notifications, and then our best friend Neil, he lives in Vegas. Shows are coming back, so if they're allowing people in shows, like you said, by May, June, I mean, COVID could be a non-factor in terms of spectator sports. I know Texas, beginning April 1, is going to be back to 100% capacity at baseball games. Baseball games
Yeah,
and sporting events.
and
So
that's encouraging. Yeah, I
let me.
mean,
Let me oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, you know, I know that the UK they put together some nice events. Don't get me wrong. I mean, with the pyrotechnics and the lights and everything, the whole majesty of it, it's always amazing. But Vegas has been doing that, and they were doing that up until the point when the pandemic came in. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, I just think that based off of the stink that bad taste that people still have in the mouth from the Deontay Wilder defeat against Tyson Fury, here you got two guys, that are from over the other side of the world that are coming in here. And I tell you right now, sometimes American fans will gravitate towards these guys that are outside because they really got nothing to lose. You can put it all out there on the line because like I said, at the end of the day, they're not guys from America. Tyson Fury loves America. He's probably going to come out like that time he came out like Apollo Creed with the red wine. I thought it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. The guy is going to be a great promoter and a matchmaker when he's done with his boxing career.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question. What are you thinking of? Because I thought about this before we came on today. I thought to myself, well, when are they going to fight that fight? Okay, obviously we're already in mid April. I'm sorry, mid March. I'm guessing that fight, we might not see that fight till June.
That's what I'm thinking too, right
We
before
might not see
summer.
that fight till June,
Yeah,
late spring,
absolutely.
early summer, because May is not going to happen. And then you think of the heavyweights and you think of, well, does a heavyweight really need an 8 or 10 week training camp? Because they don't exactly have to cut weight, and both guys have probably stayed in the gym. So they're probably both pretty close to fighting weight already, but they'll marinate that fight. They'll take a full 10-week camp for that fight.
No, absolutely. But like I said, I mean, I'm still like I said, I mean, you got to lean towards Tyson Fury. To me, he's the best heavyweight in the
Well,
division,
yeah,
hands
yeah.
down. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to continue to keep saying this again. And, I mean, and I've been okay. And I've had my successes this year, with the Oscar Valdez and other fights. But where I think Joshua is a threat is Joshua is a more complete fighter than Deontay Wilder. Obviously, Deontay Wilder's got the big punch and stuff, but let's be honest, he still makes a lot of amateurish mistakes. If Joshua can go in there and put on a boxing clinic and do kind of like a little bit what he did against Andy Ruiz and stuff, it could make it interesting. You never know. Tyson can end up gassing, or at the end of the day, Joshua does have a big punch. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, he can end up maybe dropping Tyson Fury or whatever. But I just don't think the bullying tactics are going to work against Joshua, because Joshua, unlike Wilder, is a physically strong man, and he's physically going to push back against Tyson.
Yeah, so you're thinking the bullying tactics that
Won't work. They're
Tyson
not.
used.
Let's be honest. Deontay Wilder's way too light in the ass. Always been way too light in the ass. And
Yeah,
even if he was a heavier guy, he's never had that physical strength where he does. Joshua does that. He'll impose his size. He'll impose his strength. The guy, I hear the guy.
yeah,
He's a physical specimen. So I
yeah.
mean,
He's strong. Yeah,
that's where the threat comes in.
yeah. And so they fight. They've agreed. Apparently, signed a 2-fight deal. So if one fight takes place in early summer or late spring, early summer, and then another fight, I don't know, holiday time, Christmas time, Thanksgiving here in America. I don't know, July, August, September, October. I mean, 2-fight deals a good thing. What does that do for the rest of the guys in the division? What does that do for a lot of the guys that were like mandatories? I know Usyk was a mandatory for one of those belts. What is he going to do now? Does he have to sit and wait and fight someone like Joe Joyce? What does Deontay Wilder do? What are his options? I read something that they're negotiating a fight between him and Andy Ruiz.
That's
But
a
I
joke.
also just heard that Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola are fighting. So are they overlooking Chris Arreola right away and going to try to put together a Deontay Wilder Andy Ruiz fight? I don't understand that. I mean, the PBC's been pretty good about not getting ahead of themselves and not promoting fights that have not come to fruition yet.
Uh-huh.
But I did read that. I think yesterday I read that, and I said, "So did the Arreola fight fall through? What happened?" But I don't know. Maybe they think Andy won't have a hard time with Chris, and then he'll go on and fight Deontay.
I think that's a huge mistake, because I think Chris Arreola has all the tools and the experience to beat Andy Ruiz. For some reason, when Andy Ruiz beat an exposed, a not ready, his mind was somewhere else. Maybe it was culture shock. I don't know. Maybe he had some jet lag. Maybe some bad fish on the plane way over. But that wasn't Anthony Joshua in that fight. He made a lot of mistakes from the opening round on, and that just kind of made Andy Ruiz look like he was this world beater, and he's really not. He's really not. He's a mid-level guy, who has some success. He's never going to obtain that success again. I think Chris Arreola has a good shot at beating him if Chris isn't completely shot-born and if he's still got something left in the tank. But as far as Andy Ruiz stepping in with Deontay Wilder, as many issues as I think Deontay has physically and mentally right now, it's an easy night work for Deontay Wilder, unless he's completely off his rocker and he goes in there and starts staring at the mat, and who knows,
Yeah, yeah. I don't see Deontay having any problem with Andy Ruiz. I really don't. And like you said, I guess we just have to see his mental and physical state. I know physically he's always going to keep himself in prime condition, and he's always in good physical condition, but what's his mental state like,
Yeah. Sometimes people just can't come back from that defeat. You know what I'm saying?
That ego is just deflated, and that ego is really what carried him a lot in some of those fights.
Absolutely.
He was getting outboxed, but I always knew I had that punch. I got to believe this though. I mean, Andy Ruiz has got a decent chin. He's never been hit by somebody like Deontay Wilder. And if Deontay does land that straight right hand coming down, I think that fight. I think he doesn't see the he doesn't make the 10 count. He doesn't beat the 10 count.
No, Andy Ruiz will be asleep till the next Cinco de Mayo. I'll tell you that right now. But I mean, the thing is, right now in the heavyweight division, let's be honest. You made a comment just a little while ago about how the PBC is. They're pretty calculating, and they're careful about what information that they release.
Yeah,
but there's not a whole lot of options going on right now in the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is kind of thinning out a bit. We have some fighters that are even the prospects that are coming up, you gotta kind of question a little bit. We got some of the guys that have been hanging around way too long, guys like Dillian White and a few others, and Probekin and a few others. And then you got some guys that are considered the elite fighters like Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz, and you just don't know where they are right now and stuff. You lost fighters like Konowski. You got Hellenius, who's had his opportunities, but always seems to fail when he takes that next step up. So who's really what's up with the heavyweight division? Reminds me of the 80s when you had guys like Tim Witherspoon and Pinklin Thomas and Trevor Burbick, and they were just bouncing this title from one to another. Then Bone Crusher Smith had it, then Greg Page had it. It was just jumping around because nobody could dominate the division. That's what I look at right now.
Yeah. And you're right. There are a few guys that are still kind of hanging around. Dominic Brazil, I think it's about time for him to hit the high road. I mean, he suffered that loss he just recently suffered that loss. Hellenius, like you said, He had so much promise 4 or 5 years back. He was like he just looked devastating, and then he lost a couple of fights, and then he pulled one out of the hat against Koznetsky. But what's happened since then? He's been on the shelf for over a year now, and I know COVID happened, but still though, these guys, they got to find a way to somehow
COVID didn't seem to slow down Canelo Alvarez.
yeah, a little bit,
but getting back on the heavyweight division, if you just look at the top 10 on the heavyweight division right now, you got Luis Ortiz is raking in at 10. You got Joseph Parker, a former champion and stuff, who's just hasn't looked impressive in quite a while.
Oh yeah, we never even talked about his fight against Junior Fa.
I watched the fight against Junior Fa. There wasn't really much to it. It was a total stinker. They're both,
every fight that guy's in now is a complete stinker.
Yeah, I just don't know if Joseph Parker. He's another one where his mental state. I don't know. I mean, it was such a letdown. I think in the Joshua fight where he felt that I honestly felt it was a very close decision, but it is what it is. I'm sorry. So Joseph Parker in at 9. Then you got Dillian White, another shop-worn guy who's going to get another shot against Povetkin if he gets knocked out. I think it's the end of Dillian White, but I'm sure Eddie Hearn will find another.
No. It'll never be the end of Dillian White because it's not been the end of Derek Chisora.
Yeah.
Does Chisora have 10 losses now, 10 losses, and he continues to just get fight after fight after fight, and against top quality opposition.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So after Dillian White, you got a guy who I kind of think is a hopeful guy. He's had his ups and downs, but Mike the Bounty Hunter. The son of the late Mike the Bounty Hunter, the heavyweight from back in the days. Then you got number 6, you got Andy Reese Jr. Then you got Usyk at number 5. You got Povetkin at number 4, Deontay Wilder number 3, Joshua number 2, and Tyson Fury number 1. It's really starting to thin out there in the heavyweight division.
And that's pretty much it.
That's it.
That's pretty much it. Where do they have Joe Joyce in that? Is Joe Joyce anywhere up there?
Joe Joyce is not even rated in the top 25, if you can believe that. They got Derek Chisora in at number 11. Oh, no, I take it back. Joe Joyce is number 12. I'm sorry. Joe Joyce is in at number 12.
Okay, I think Joe Joyce, based on his win over Dubois, I mean, I never thought that much of Dubois, but if Dubois would have won that fight in devastating fashion against Joe Joyce, Dubois would have no doubt been catapulted
just
so
to show
much
you,
higher.
Bro. Yeah, just to show you. When you got guys like Charles Martin, who's completely done in boxing, as far as I'm concerned, at number 15, okay? And you got guys like, Huey Fury, who can't pull a win out of his ass if you fucking wrapped it in a bow and put it in his hand, is still up there. It tells you the heavyweight division's really desperate right now. They really need a fighter to come in and do something. Usyk has the skill, just doesn't have the physical size. That's going to be his downfall, is that size. He's not going to be able to take those punches. You've already seen it in some of his earlier fights. He's not going to be able to take that physical, that strength.
Yeah, when he fought at cruiserweight, he was a good-sized cruiserweight, so he was able to stand his ground and punch with balance and authority. Where at heavyweight, he's punching almost kind of as he's moving back. So a lot of the power is being taken off that shots. And why? The return fire.
Yeah.
The return fire. And he just, who did he beat? Chisora? He beat Derek Chisora just recently in his most recent.
But there was moments in that fight though when Chisora hit him with some big shots, and you could tell it was.
What I'm saying is that Chisora has a good punch, a decent punch, and physically is a bigger fighter than him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, on paper, you think, oh, Usyk's going to walk through Chisora and take him out, but it didn't play out that way.
No.
He's got great skill, but like you said, that size, he's that size disadvantage.
The size disadvantage is going to be his Achilles heel. Don't get me wrong. I think Usyk is a rarity. He's got all of the physical tools to be a great.
It's a shame he fought as a cruiserweight. One of the most, I guess, drab divisions in the history of boxing.
It is what it is. But I mean, you still got guys out there, like FAR Jarba and a few other guys out there that are going to try to make a move, but they've already been exposed in some ways that they've shown.
Yeah, FA Jogba didn't look good in his last fight.
No, he didn't look good at all.
he got dropped, right? He got dropped, but got up and ended up winning in that fight. There's a guy that I had a lot of hope for.
Yeah,
physically he just looked imposing, but
a great guy too. I met him over in Carson, and he's just it is what it is. But
so we're gonna get those fights, which is it's been a long time coming. It's been talked about for almost a year now, but AJ and Tyson Fury will sign that. They did sign that 2-fight deal. I'm guessing, like I said, one day this week, very soon, we're gonna get that announcement of when that fight's gonna take place. I'm gonna go on and make an early prediction now and say Tyson Fury wins that fight. I don't quite know how he's gonna win it. I'm gonna say he wins that fight now. But then again, that fight, minimum of 10 weeks away, 10 to weeks away. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how he looks in training camp. You know what I mean?
I
Hopefully, there's
agree.
no
I
personal
agree.
issues, and
I agree. I think Tyson Fury wins this fight. I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive in the sense to where Tyson's not going to be able to
he's going to
do
get
the
some
things.
pushback, some
Well, he's
resistance.
not going to be able to do the things that he did against Deontay Wilder, where he just kind of like physically, bum rushed him and stuff against the ropes. He's not going to be able to do that against Joshua. Joshua was a little bit clever. He's a pedigree. He's an amateur pedigree. He's a gold medalist. I think Joshua might have, he's got a few more tricks in his bag than Deontay Wilder did. I wouldn't be shocked if Joshua somehow pulled a rabbit out of the hat, but it's going to be a tough one. He's going to have to really, he can't do what he did against Andy Ruiz. He just can't run away for 12 rounds and try to keep Tyson at the end of his jab, because Tyson's going to figure it out sooner or
Oh
later.
yeah.
It's like this.
Well,
So
that's a
that's going to
much.
work.
Yeah.
So Joshua's going to have to come to fight. And I think that's his best offense, is to come in and kind of do something like what Canelo did in his second fight against Gennady Golovkin. Change the script. Go in there and be very aggressive. Be old Anthony Joshua. Go for the knockout early. You might get lucky.
Yeah. Just live or die by the sword, because, like you said, if he tries to move,
Throw caution to the wind, man.
he will, and he will gas. He has showed a propensity to gas in fights, and he will gas.
Absolutely, bro.
So we'll see.
Great point.
Let's move on to some more news and notes on boxing, and we just talked about this briefly. We won't spend too much time on it, but Danny Garcia is making the jump to 154, and he's calling out Keith Thurman. That's the first guy he wants at 154. I don't quite see the need for Thurman to go to 154 just yet. I think he's still a top 5 welterweight, in my opinion. He's got one loss to a legend, Manny Pacquiao, and you said you had went back and watched that fight, and it was a lot closer the second time you watched it. You probably could have even given it to Thurman. Thurman did fight his ass off, with the exception, if that first round knockdown doesn't happen, that very well could have been a toss-up draw. It could have been a lot closer. Yeah.
And I think where Thurman made his biggest mistake was, I think Thurman, he doesn't have the character where he feels himself too much, but for that fight, I think he had to really, really get himself pumped up. Didn't matter that Manny's already at the age that he is. He's been in the wars that he's been. He's a living legend. He's a guy that's went in there and dismantled some of the best in boxing. And Thurman knew that in the back of his mind. And he made these stupid mistakes. And when Manny caught him, it was a surprise. Keith could have folded and just gave up later on and stuff like this. I don't know how hurt he was, but he didn't. He came back.
He was more shocked than hurt.
But he was still getting in when they were engaging each other and stuff, he was still getting caught at the end of the flurries and stuff like this. And about the 6th, 7th round, Keith started to figure it out and stuff. And started getting Manny at the end and started getting his right hand in. And it was kind of shocking for me, because I thought Keith Thurman was going to have not an easy night, but I saw a raw Marquez style knockout of Manny Pacquiao at the hands of Keith Thurman in that fight.
So it was really like the tale of two fights. What happened in the first half of the fight and in the second half of the fight.
Correct.
And the difference being the knockdown.
Yep.
If Thurman would have been able to put Manny down, even if it's a quick flash knockdown, anything,
or even hurt him,
fight, or even hurt him, yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's a wise move for Danny Garcia to go to 154. I just do not. Danny Garcia has never been a guy that's been a defensive wizard. He got hit a lot by Keith Thurman. He got hit a lot by Sean Porter. He got hit a lot by Errol Spence. If he goes up to 154, he's going to be fighting guys like Erickson Lubin, the other Jermale Charlo, or
you got guys like Erickson Lara. You
Landy Lara.
Yeah, you got guys like the newcomers like Tim Zhu, and I mean, there are some fighters up there that I'm sure Danny Garcia, because of his skill level and because Danny's kind of big for the weight division. I wouldn't say big, but I mean, he's gonna be about the size of some of these guys up there.
He's got a thick frame and he's boxy. He's not real tall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is he, about 5'8"?
5'10". He's 5'10".
I don't think he's 5'10". They got him listed at 5'10", but I don't think he's 5'10", because I've seen him stand next to Johnny Molina, and Johnny's about 5'10", and he's shorter than Johnny.
About 5'9", yeah.
I got that picture of him when they were at the club, him and Chon Cepeda and Panchito, and he was about Chon's height, and Chon is not 5'10". Either way, I don't know, man. I think there's still some things for him to do at 147. I think a rematch with Keith Thurman at 147, a rematch with Sean Porter at 147. I mean, there's other guys. There's Ugas. There's Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia, I know, is clamoring for that Pacquiao fight, which he does not deserve. And I'm going to say that
it's a money fight. Let's be honest. Mikey Garcia is turning into the guy who just wants the money fights, and he comes back and beats a a decent fighter that had some moderate success, you know,
Yeah,
like
Jesse
a Jesse
Vargas.
Vargas or something like this. And then he tries to catapult himself into an Errol Spence type fight. You know,
But he did. But even you can't blame Mikey Garcia for wanting to fight the biggest fights and make the biggest money. But I fault Al Heyman, the PBC, and the sanctioning bodies that put this guy in these fights. He did not deserve the fight against Errol Spence. The
no,
proof was in the pudding. He lost every minute of all 12 of those rounds. Errol
fight wasn't
Spence
even
played
close.
with him. He played with
Yeah,
them. It was
yeah,
it was one of the easiest fights you'll ever high profile fight. It was a pay per view fight.
oh,
What?
you know,
Why does he deserve Manny Pacquiao? Why
yeah,
does he deserve Manny Pacquiao before a Keith Thurman rematch, before a Ugas, before a Jamal James, guys
yeah.
that are winning at that division against high level guys, not sucking down weight draining a Jesse Vargas from 154 back to 147 and winning that fight. So
Yeah,
if they sanction that fight, make that fight, shame on the PBC for allowing this guy to get these high profile fights. You're basically shitting on the rest of your talent pool, your roster. It'd be like in football, like you got a first string and a second string quarterback, but the third string quarterback's your buddy, and you put him in over the first and second guys who do all the reps in practice, and you put the third string guy in.
well, you know, the thing is that all the sanctioning bodies, you know, with the way that they're doing the rating system right now and stuff, it's so ass backwards at this point. I was watching the scene the other day, and they were having this conversation with some advisors and stuff with Errol Spence. And when they refer to the welterweight division, they refer to the number one person in the welterweight division, and they always go back to Terrence Bud Crawford. I'm like, okay, first of all, if you're going to refer to Terrence Bud Crawford as the best number one fighter in the welterweight division, a guy who really hasn't even fought at welterweight, he's fought against blown up 42 pounders. It's ridiculous. Dude.
140.
Bud Crawford's done nothing in the welterweight division but been
Right.
handed, you know, the gavel, the golden gavel to sit up on top and judge where they're gonna be rated. Errol Spence has done nothing but beat the best. He beat Sean Porter, he beat Danny Garcia. You could keep it right there if you want to.
Yeah.
You could stop
The Mikey Garcia fight, he, by his own admission, if you talk to Errol Spence now, by his own admission, he'll say it. That was the easiest night of my life. That was the fight that they wanted to pay me all this money. His first pay-per-view fight. He fought the fight. Hey, no problem. I'll take the 20 million, whatever he made for that fight, 15 million, whatever he made. I know Mikey got paid very handsomely for that fight.
Well, the thing that gets me is they'll go back and go, well, did you see what Terrence Crawford did to Kell Brook? Yeah, and Errol Spence did that about 2.5 years ago. So what the hell are you talking about? You know, it makes no sense. There's just no leverage there. But we all know how the tale is going to end for Bud Crawford. He's another one's trying to clamor and get into the Manny Pacquiao sweepstakes. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Honestly, myself personally, Bud Crawford's got skill. I'm not going to say he's skillless, okay? But he's done himself a disjustice, like so many other fighters, by not fighting competition up to his level, by getting what I call just these easy walks in the park. When he gets in there with a guy like Manny Pacquiao, who's been in the wars, has been in with some of the greatest, guys like Floyd Mayweather, amongst others.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Manny shows and exposes who Bud really is.
And then you're going to see the Max Kellermans and all these people saying, you know what, Timothy Bradley will never throw him under the bus, but what Timothy Bradley will say, I can already hear his excuse. It's probably already written out. Well, the reason why Bud didn't get it is because they got Bud when Bud had been clamoring for this fight for so long. And, you know, he was fighting all these guys and wanting to get the fight. And if they would have fought Bud Crawford 2 years ago, it's a different story. Either way, right? Either way, they act like only one side of an equation ages. Like when people say, well, Floyd got Manny when he was too old. Well, Floyd, last I checked, fighters don't Benjamin Button. They don't get younger. Everybody gets older. Look at from right now to right now. I just got 2 seconds older. We all get older. Fighters get older. So that's the built-in excuses are already written. They've already got them memorized. You're right. So once he gets in there with a quality guy, he gets exposed.
Excuse or no excuse, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Bud hasn't done enough to be considered, and in my book, to be a Hall of Famer. Will he make it a Hall of Fame? Yeah, he will, but it'll probably be a long time from now. You know what I'm saying? If he ever does. But the injustice that's going on in the world today right now, bro, is things like this. A guy like Bud Crawford will probably get a Hall of Fame nod before a guy like Canelo Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? And that's the injustice. It's just like in music and other things. You always see the ones that don't seem to put a whole lot into their career and live by their words, you know, as far as like hype jobs, rather than the guys that just put the hard work in and don't worry about all the exposure. they don't get the credit that they deserve. And Bud is just another assessment of the fact of what's wrong with boxing right now. Stop holding these fighters at such a high regard, like they've done so much, when you know in the back of your mind he's not the fighter that he claims to be.
Look, we said this a long time ago. We'll continue to say it. It's who you fight.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's all about who you fight.
It's who you fight.
I don't care what your record is.
Bud Crawford has never been in a memorable fight. He's been in some close fights, nothing memorable.
No.
I mean, the most memorable fight he had, the one that had the most action and excitement was when he fought. Well, yeah, it was when he fought a 126 pounder that he pulled up to 135 in Yuriorkis Gamboa. That's the best fight of his career.
That's it.
The most exciting fight. And he was hurt multiple times by Gamboa. I mean, you talk about overmatched, oversized, talk about picking on a little guy. It was like fighting your little brother. At the end of the day, until Bud Crawford's willing to make these fights happen, and he keeps using the excuses, these guys that want to fight me, blah, blah,
bullshit.
You ever seen that movie Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, where he portrayed the guy that was homeless and stuff? He basically said to his son, if you want something bad enough, you go out and you get it. You go out, you find a way, and you go out and you get it. If he wants to be considered one of the best of all time, if even in this era at that division, make those fights happen. Sometimes you got to take the short money. Johnny Molina told us a story about a month ago. We sat here and had that conversation with them when he told Goosen, get me a fight, any fight, I don't care who. And they put him in there up against Floyd's number one guy, right? For what did he get? $10,000?
Oh, yeah, I guess Mickey Bay.
$10,000.
Yeah.
What's his pay? A fraction of what he had just got.
Yeah.
In his previous fight when he had lost the title to DeMarco.
But that goes back to what you said. You made a perfect comment, bro. At the end of your career, your glossy record means absolutely nothing if you never fought anybody. No. Johnny Molina may not have the glossiest record, but you know what, though? He can go back with pride and go, look who I fought, look who I beat, and look who I at least attempted to get in the ring with, what I did. There's no question that a guy like John the Gladiator Molina wouldn't step in the ring with anybody, even at this point. You know, if you came back tomorrow and said, hey, you know what, John? We got Errol Spence for you in 3 months. I wouldn't put it past. Johnny's going to say, I'm not going to pass that opportunity probably. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, you know,
you got to dare to be great, man.
Got to dare to be great. I mean, you could go back to the welterweight days. I remember there was this welterweight, this flashy welterweight out of Italy named Nino LaRocca.
I remember him.
68-0. Everybody was like, oh, this guy's this. Guy came in here and gets his ass kicked like it was nothing. Let me tell you something right now. The glossy records, beating the people that you know that you're supposed to beat, it's when you beat somebody that you're not supposed to beat when you become great.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, Mikey Garcia does not deserve the Pacquiao fight. Terrence Crawford doesn't deserve. Neither one of those guys deserve Pacquiao money.
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all.
So if I was Manny Pacquiao, I'd be looking at someone like, you know,
what about Sean Porter?
Someone like a Sean Porter who's earned it.
Who's earned it. Absolutely. Sean Porter
came up short against Errol, and one of them
earned it. I hate to say it, bro. Danny Garcia, for his losing, Danny Garcia deserves a shot against Manny Pacquiao more than Terrence Bud Crawford or Mikey Garcia, just based on the fact he's fought Spence, Porter, Thurman. The list goes on.
Yeah, he's beat guys like Zab Judah. He's beat Paulie Malignaggi. He's beat
Eric the Red.
He's beat a lot of guys.
Sorry, I'm a little late, guys. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
It's just the life of a businessman. But you know what? That's okay, because I got a couple of brewskis that I'm getting from our history.
So, Mike, go back. What were you saying on that?
No, I was just talking about the guys that Danny Garcia has beat. I mean, it's a who's who since he. I mean, it's a who's who ever since the Mauricio Herrera fight in Puerto Rico, which was a very questionable decision. He righted the ship, and even though he lost some close decisions, Danny Garcia, it's been a who's who. You don't see, with the exception of he did that Rod Salka fight that, hey, that's a mulligan. He had no business fighting that fight. And it isn't like it was a competitive fight.
I think Danny changed my mind when he took the fight against the boogeyman of the division at the time in Lucas Matisse and defeated Matisse.
And I thought that was at 140. I thought Matisse was going to – I honestly thought Matisse was going to knock him out in that fight, beat him bad.
It showed me a different side of Danny, and I think that was exactly what you were talking about, bro. He dared to be great at that moment. He said, if I'm going to really take my career seriously, if I want to be considered not just a champion, but a guy who's really, really in the game, I got to beat this guy. I got to fight the most dangerous guy in the division in Lucas Matisse. And he did it. And you got to take your hat off to Danny. So to me, that's why he deserves a shot against Manny Pacquiao amongst guys who take the fight, who take the easy road. You know.
So once again, we'll circle back to what we were saying when we started the segment. We don't feel Danny Garcia needs to make that jump to 154.
No.
There's still plenty of great fights at 147.
I think it's a big mistake, bro. I think it's a huge mistake. Now, yeah, there's guys up there Danny could beat. Danny could beat the Jeff Horns. I see Danny. I think he could beat Patrick Teixeira any day. But it's when you run into some of these young guns that are coming up, possibly a Tim Zhu or one of these other guys, even Brandon Adams. You know what I'm saying? These are physically strong guys. These are guys that have been at 154 their entire career. You know, some of these guys were even middleweights and dropped down. So I just don't think it's a risk that Danny needs to take at this juncture in his career.
Yeah, I agree. I think he might be biting off a little bit more than he could chew. Don't get me wrong. There's some guys he could beat at that division. Don't get me wrong.
I could be totally wrong. Danny might fucking turn into a perfect 154 and come out with even more power. Who knows?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that power is going to translate up that. That's another 7 pounds, bro.
Yeah.
That's 47 up to 54.
That's a lot.
And Danny never looked at like a guy who's been weight drained and has been completely emaciated to make 147.
No. I agree. I totally agree, bro. So
Eric, your volume's a little bit funky right now. Can you
hold on? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Before it was muffled.
Sorry guys. I'm sorry I'm late, but the Chamber of Commerce here in Gresham did a
walkthrough.
Yeah, basically a walkthrough, and we did a video, and they took still pictures and everything. So they're going to be hopefully helping us get some more customers. So,
that's good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. So, yeah, and we had all of the employees here dressed in costume and character, and it was really good. I think
that's great, man. That's great.
I think it's gonna be really good.
That's good. It looks like it's sunny there. Is it sunny? Is it sunny in Oregon?
Yeah, here, hold on a second.
I was gonna say it looks sunny outside. Nice.
Nice.
Got rid of that rain, huh?
Better than that cold.
We had rain all day yesterday down here, Eric. It rained all day here. Right, AJ? Until late afternoon, early evening, kind of cleared up a little bit, but it was cold.
That's like
I got caught in the hail yesterday.
Of our year. That's like 80% of our year up here is rain, cloud. You know, it's just I'm ready to get out of Oregon.
I would grow green moss on my body if I had that much cold. I can't handle it, dude.
Dude, there's green moss everywhere. There's literally moss everywhere.
So Eric, what we were talking about before you got on, we were talking about Danny Garcia. Well, before that, we'll just touch briefly on it. We talked about Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. It was announced this week, a 2-fight deal. Date and location not yet set. I'm leaning towards guessing they're going to stage the first fight in the UK at Wembley Arena. AJ said Vegas maybe at that time should be opening up. Vegas, obviously, for a site fee and price per head is going to be a lot more than Wembley. I think for Wembley, you can get him for a basket of fish and chips and like a 10 quid because they put 100,000 people in there.
I feel sorry for you, bro. When you go to the UK next time.
I've been to the UK, dude.
I know what I'm saying is that next time they go like, there's that guy that what he said that you needed fish and chips and this. And
I'll just jam a freaking Guinness in their face and they'll leave me alone. Yeah. That's awesome. What do you think about that, Eric? What do you think about? You've obviously seen both those guys fight, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. What's your early prediction on fight one?
Fury is going to take the fight.
Take the fight. How do you think he wins that fight?
I think he knocks him out.
Think he knocks him out? I didn't really give a prediction on how. I think he wins it, but the more and more we talked about it, AJ, I'm thinking he probably gasses AJ late and stops him. It might not be like a devastating, but I think it could just be he'll just overwhelm him.
I don't think it's going to be a quick stoppage or an overwhelming, like you said, Michael. I think he's just going to. It'll be later in the rounds, 9 or 10, maybe, and he's just going to, like you said, overwhelm him and
kind of like he did with Wilder's last fight.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue to go back to what I said earlier, bro, and I think it's gonna come true. Where the fact is, Tyson Fury is not going to be able to use those bully tactics he used against Deontay Wilder against a much larger, physically stronger Anthony Joshua.
The leaning on him, the pushing on him.
That will also take a strain on Fury. So on the other pedal, Fury can end up gassing just trying to put those bully tactics and not being successful with them.
Yeah, I think he'll have a different game plan, obviously, for this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I honestly, I think he's going to take this one pretty serious and watch him come in better shape than he's been in.
Who's that, Tyson?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's going to change his tactics in this last
Yeah.
fight when he fought Wilder. When we saw the weigh-in and how he came in, 20 pounds heavier than he did in the first fight.
Yeah.
Robert told me, he goes, "Oh, he's going to knock out Deontay."
Yeah.
That's why he put all that weight on. He's going to go after him and knock him out. And I mean, it wasn't like he said a devastating knockout, but he got the stoppage win.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, guys.
Sometimes that's all it takes, you know. But hey, Mike, why don't we go ahead and jump into the big fight that's coming up
this weekend? Yeah. This weekend, we got a big fight coming from Fort Worth, Texas. Virgil Ortiz, the undefeated 16-0, all 16 wins by knockout, welterweight. And here's a guy that's jumping into the welterweight mix, you know. I mean, he's been fighting at this weight his entire career, but I mean, he's now approaching and he's entering the realm of top 10 contender now. He's taken on Maurice Hooker, who was a former 140-pound champion.
Okay, so I was looking back at some of his fights earlier.
Virgil Ortiz, yeah.
I mean, who has he fought that has like really been a tough fight for him?
Well,
I mean,
up to date, who was the best name on his resume? It might be Sammy Fuentes, right?
Well, Sammy Fuentes was one of them. Brad Solomon was a solid guy who came in at the time at 28-1. That is a guy that was considered a welterweight contender himself. Antonio Orozco was another one where people thought he was another guy who came in that was 28-1 at the time and stuff. I always go back to the Herrera fight. Even though Herrera maybe wasn't the fighter that he was before.
Yeah.
This is a guy who fought top level against everybody, but it was the way that Virgil Ortiz disposed of him was such ease.
That was hard to watch, man.
It was very hard to watch.
Well, that's kind of why I was, wanting your guys' input on it too, because I haven't seen a lot of his fights, but I went through and I watched some of the highlights and whatnot of him, and he makes short work of people, which is awesome. But I was just kind of wondering on the quality of the opponents he was facing.
Honestly, I think
I could go to middle school and beat the hell out of 10 guys in a row, no problem. But you know what? I just wanted to kind of get your guys' take on the actual quality of a fighter he's been dispatching, because he has just dispatched everybody.
I think Virgil Ortiz is totally being overlooked by the welterweight division. I'm going to tell you why. If you look at the rating system right now, Virgil Ortiz being rated in at number 17th in the welterweight division. To me,
he's way down there, which that's an insult.
It's a complete insult. When you got guys up there, and I hate to say it, guys that even like Kell Brook, who hasn't done anything in a while. You got Josecito Lopez. I mean, he had his victory against John Molina. Abel Ramos has done nothing. Even Cabo Lucas, his only big fight was against Bud Crawford. You wouldn't recognize another name on the guy's record practically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Other than his defeat to Bud Crawford. So for some reason, Virgil Ortiz, where you got guys that don't deserve it, like Bud Crawford being elevated to this king level, Virgil Ortiz is still being kept down in the garden level. I don't understand that. So hopefully, if Virgil gets his victory, he'll get the just due. Because I tell you now, if he beats Maurice Hooker and he's still outside the top 10, there's a problem in the welterweight division.
I think some of that, AJ, could be the fact that, let's face it, Golden Boy Promotions doesn't really have a lot of pull right now in the welterweight division. They don't really have a lot of names. He's really their only guy right now, I believe, in that division. Mm-hmm. PBC owns 80% of the top guys. Top Rank's got a couple. That might be it. It might be one of those situations where, you know what, maybe Oscar's not, paying that little side money to the sanctioner organizations to push this guy a little bit higher up the rankings. But if he looks impressive against Maurice Hooker this weekend, you're right. They can't deny him. They have to elevate him several spots. They have to, because Maurice Hooker is not a chump. Maurice Hooker is a former world champion, one loss in his defeat to Ramirez. I think Maurice Hooker is more suited for this 147-pound division. He was just too big and too lanky for 140. I don't even know how that guy made 140.
I think Maurice Hooker is getting an injustice, being pushed down to being rated at 13. It's just, this to me is a high profile fight in a lot of ways. This is the kind of fight that boxing fans should love. Casual fans aren't going to love it so much because maybe Virgil Ortiz and Maurice Hooker aren't household names yet.
Yeah.
But after this weekend, one of them just might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be Ortiz.
I want to say Ortiz, but you know what? I love Virgil, and he's such a humble kid. He's
No,
you cannot not love it. Like Gonzalez, Chacarito Gonzalez. There's so
No,
many
I
reasons to
agree.
love the kid. But
I
Maurice
agree.
Hooker is just, he's very talented. And Maurice Hooker, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's tough as nails. And if anybody's gonna this could be
Gonna
a
push this
possible-
kid. Yeah, is
it's
gonna be
a
him.
Hooker. This is a dangerous fight, very dangerous.
This is
fight.
not a crossroads fight. People, I mean, some people might be thinking,
No.
well, Maurice Hooker, maybe whatever. No, Maurice Hooker has one loss. He outgrew the division, 140. He's now at his more comfortable, more natural weight. And they say get him listed at what, 5'10" and a half. Maurice Hooker looks every bit of 6 foot to me. He is a tall kid.
And if you get an opportunity, Eric, go back and watch when Maurice Hooker got stopped by Ramirez. And I want you to see
I saw it.
the dirty tactics that were allowed in that entire fight, how Maurice Hooker was just put at a disadvantage from round one. But the biggest issue was go to the weigh-ins before the fight, okay? And look at Maurice Hooker. You knew that he was struggling to make that weight.
Yeah.
He was not ready for that fight. He was sucked up. I mean, everything against a guy who's more natural for that weight in Ramirez.
Yeah.
Maurice Hooker is now at the natural weight that he should have been at a couple years ago. If Maurice Hooker would have went here a couple more years ago, he may have already been, if not a major player, possibly a champion of welterweight division right now.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. He's a good fighter.
Very good fighter.
Tough fighter. Comes out of Houston, Texas. Gets great sparring out there. In fact, I think he's got sparring with one, if not both, of the Charlos, who are physically big guys for 154 and 160. So the size, he's definitely going to be able to handle the size. Virgil Ortiz does have a good punch, but we'll see. A good punch, we'll see. I mean,
they both have excellent punches, but I'm gonna tell you I'm always gonna keep going back to one of the earlier fights that Maurice Hooker had, and that was when he fought the undefeated Alex Saucedo, who reminds me so much of Virgil Ortiz Jr.
Yeah,
in the way that they fight. Virgil Ortiz was able to contain that bull, that strength, those launches.
Hooker, you mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Hooker.
Yeah,
and make Saucedo pay for his aggression. If he's able to do that against Ortiz is in trouble, but I'm sure Ortiz has a plan B, being that he's got a high ring IQ. But the problem is that once he's put in that situation, let's hope that his ego doesn't take over and he continues to make those mistakes, because that will be his final mistake against a guy like Hooker, because Hooker did that against Saucedo. Saucedo kept coming in and they kept telling him, dude, just box the guy, get you together, and Hooker put him to sleep.
Yeah. That's an exciting fight. I'm looking forward to that fight. It'll probably be, it's on DAZN this Saturday. It's probably going to be, I'm guessing the main event will probably be like 7 or 8 o'clock our time, right? Because they're a couple hours ahead. That's going to be a great fight. The state of Texas is getting 2 high-quality fights back-to-back. Last week's fight in
the
Dallas.
The only one loving the COVID situation is Texas.
In Florida, Texas, Florida, Alabama now.
Mississippi.
Yeah. South Dakota. I mean, too bad South Dakota doesn't have a boxing hub, because they've been open this entire time.
So Mike, it looks like we're about the hour mark. There was something you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, we're going to touch on something. We don't normally talk about this topic on this show, but we figure we're going to spend at least 10 minutes on this. Who knows? It might turn into 20. But this is something this is something that's been stuck in my craw for a day or two now, and it's only because of our background and what you and I, AJ, what we do. We're in a band. We play in a hard rock band. I mean, some of our songs would be considered metal, some of them more of a softer rock. But either way, we're musicians, and that's what we do most of the time. Apparently, the Grammys took place this past Sunday, I think. I don't know, because I haven't watched the Grammys in probably more than a decade. I have no interest in the Grammys, but I'm always a little bit interested to see what kind of names come out of the hat when they close their eyes and they stick their hands in you know what I mean, like a what is it, like a fishbowl, and pull out a band's name, like a grab bag, to nominate. In this case, we know that the nominees always have to match the social and political climate of what's happening in the world. We get it. I get it. That's what music has become. But we're going to talk just specifically about one category, because to be honest with you, it's the only category that I give a shit about. It's not even a real category as far as I'm concerned. It's title of the category. It's not best metal artist. It's not best metal band. It's not best metal or rock, but it's called best metal performance. I have no idea what the hell that even means. What does that mean? Performance in a live video, on a live show, performance on an award show, performance in your backyard. The nominees escape me, most of them. I know that Code Orange was nominated.
Yeah, Code Orange was nominated.
Poppy, this YouTube creation that apparently made a song that somehow found its way into the favor of the Grammy nomination selection committee.
You could blame Jose Magnin from Sirius Radio for all that.
Well, he never played that band on Sirius. I listen to Sirius every day. I've never heard Poppy on there. And if they did, well, then he can go to hell.
Yeah.
In this moment, who, in my opinion, were the band that deserved to win this award, and Body Count, who ultimately was given the award. Body Count. For those of you that don't know, I mean, some people may know, it's a pseudo metal band. That's what I call them, because they're not a real metal band. When I say real, they're not like an actual band that actually makes records regularly, rehearse, tour. They pop up and play a show here, whatever. They're fronted by breakdancer / hardcore rapper
we have a history with.
/ actor. He's actually a pretty damn good actor.
I like his acting.
I think he's great on CSI or whatever one of those shows he's on, right?
Makes some good movies.
He's the front man of this band called Body Count. They're a metal band. Ice-T.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Pseudo metal band. How dare the Grammy committee select a pseudo part-time metal band over a band like In This Moment, who've been doing it for well over a decade, nonstop, record after record, tour after tour, and Maria Brink in an age of 2021 where it's all about women empowerment and equality and all that stuff. It should have went to In This Moment, but apparently
not if you're into rock or metal.
Yeah, but apparently, I guess the ethnic equality is more important than the gender equality, because there's not. I know hundreds of metal fans, and I've been to hundreds of metal shows. I have never, in all my years, seen anybody or met anybody that gives two shits about Body Count.
Yeah,
Body Count is a filler. Body Count is a novelty to me. They're a novelty.
They're one of those things, because, like I said, I go back to the old days. We're from Rolling Heights, California. We used to go to this place called Skate Country, and we got into breakdancing and stuff. Back in the day, there was a crew that we used to battle against called Unbreakable Force. Well, they had some friends from LA, and one of the people that came out there was Ice-T. This is before he met Kristen Glove Taylor, and he got into. He was still trying to figure out what he was going to do. He was the older guy in the group. You know, he didn't know if he wanted to be a graffiti artist, or if he wanted to be a popper or a breaker,
or what.
And then from there, you know, they ended up getting lucky, you know what I'm saying? And I guess, you know, he met Kristen Glove Taylor. He wanted to be a DJ. He couldn't learn to DJ, so he couldn't break, couldn't pop, couldn't DJ, couldn't do graffiti. Then he finally figured out, well, maybe he could rap. And he did that an okay thing, and he made him successful. And he knew what it is. And
he was pretty crappy, to be honest with you.
But let's be honest. You know what I'm saying?
Tom McDonald's a better rapper than all of them.
No, I wouldn't say that. But to put him at this level. This goes back to the day when the Grammys really started to lose any kind of credibility. And that was a Jethro Tull situation.
Over Metallica.
That happened years ago. And that had people, metalheads, going like this. That was the final day that people that loved rock and metal watched the Grammys. At that point, they tuned it out. You got to be kidding me.
Yep.
You know? And you know what? It's never going to come back. So now what they're going to do, they're going to insult our genre of music by putting groups in there that we've literally physically seen booed off the stage because people are like, get these clowns off. Let's get Gojira. Let's get, Chelsea Grin. Let's get
Killswitch Engage. Let's get Parkway Drive. Let's get In This Moment.
This has nothing to do with skin color. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with the fact that people that have been doing it. Let's be honest. Look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a complete joke. The fact that you got people in there like Madonna, and still to this day, bands like Iron Maiden are barely getting even considered. You know what I'm saying? A band that has played for the last 30, 40, who knows how many years, for hundreds of thousands of people, sold 100
million albums.
Yeah, it really is. It's disgusting that some of the people that they just let in for whatever reason. Come on, Jay-Z, really? What influence has he done in music?
Guys, this is the world that we're in right now. Good is bad. Bad is good. Up is down. Left is right. This world is flipped.
Don't want us to call our mom, dad, or mom.
But this has been happening, like AJ said. This has been happening for a long time. A decade ago, when Metallica,
it's a system. It's a system at work, and it's slow. It started years ago. I mean, it started years ago, and it's flipping, and now it's to the point where it's like, hey, man, the snowball's rolled way too far freaking downhill. Stop this shit.
I'm gonna say something real quick, and I'll let Mike take it. The thing is, I think the issue that they take with bands that are metal bands, I'm gonna tell you why. I go back to a story that happened about a year and a half ago, and there was a huge story where they came out and they were basically condemning Ivan Modi of Five Finger Death Punch, who brought a young girl, she's probably 10 or 11 years old, up on stage, and she was singing the song with him. And all he said after she got through singing it was, "Hey, everybody, stand up, put your hands together for the fucking future." That's all he said.
Yeah.
And because he used the F word, he was terrible. 2 seconds later, they pop over to this live performance from the VMAs where Miley Cyrus has a 12-inch dildo and she's jamming it in the ass of another guy, and they call that art.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's such a misconception when it comes to metal.
Yeah.
We're not the violent Neanderthals that you think we are. Metal is about, there's so many people there that they look like they're mean, but they're not. It's a brotherhood. One falls, the other one picks him up. Don't be surprised that the guy who's got one cigarette left shares it with you. Don't be surprised if he bumps into you and knocks your beer down, he buys you another one. Don't be surprised if you end up finding new friends, family, and hopefully future bandmates, because everybody there somewhere or another is a musician because they look at music differently. It's not just beats, it's texture, structure, and elements.
Yeah, it's real music. AJ, that was probably the most brilliant thing you've said on our podcast since we started this. When you said that about the cigarette, the beer, that is so true. Anybody that's ever been to a rock or metal festival, we've been to hundreds of them for the last 15 years. We've seen hundreds of bands. It's a brotherhood. It's an absolute brotherhood. There's like you said, they look at metal, and maybe because of the way people dress or the way that the artwork is and the way that the wording is drafted, it looks violent, it looks satanic. It's such the complete opposite of that. It's more of, I've seen one incident in all my years of going to festivals. I've seen one violent incident, and the violent incident was some girl slapping the shit out of her old man because her old man was checking out some other chick who was in the crowd who was, drunk or whatever. And it was a domestic disturbance. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
It's easy to sum up.
I still got the
every time you see, like at Knotfest, you see Corey Taylor, the lead singer and frontman of the metal band Slipknot. The first words that come out of his mouth when he walks out there on stage is, "My family."
Yeah, my family. Yep.
Everything's about my family.
And I hate to say this, man, you couldn't get this at, like, if you couldn't get this at a rap concert, at a rap festival. Why do you think there's no such thing in existence? Why do you think they do not exist?
But
they do not exist.
This is what goes back to what I'm saying, bro. They don't want music that's gonna make people think, make people love, make people focus, make people realize that we don't live in a perfect world. They would rather us be blinded by ass shaking, funky beats,
money,
EDM shit. Yeah, that's not what the world's about, man.
Ecstasy, whatever, MDMA, all that nonsense.
I'll tell you my impression of a great weekend. Hanging out with my brother, not taking a shower for fucking 3 days, eating whatever's on the cooker, drinking lots of beer, watching some of the best bands, the bands that we love, from Ozzy all the way to Trivium to Slipknot. And then at the end of the weekend, the end of the weekend, pack everything up, give everybody a hug, say bye to your new friends, and I'll see you guys next time, and stuff like this. And that's it, man.
And and it happens too. You go to festivals year after year, you see people that you saw last time, they hit you up, you meet up with them. I'm not sure that happens in other music as well. Country music, I guess, these big festivals, I can see that happening as well. But ultimately what we're trying to say is that Grammys, listen, if you just want to continue to insult us, just do us a favor. Just eliminate the category altogether. Like I said, we're down to one category, best metal performance. Once again, don't know what that means. Just eliminate us, because when I say us, we are a family. I consider Maria Brink, who AJ you've met and spent time with. She said she's an amazing woman. I consider her part of the metal family that I'm a part of.
And it's very disappointing.
It's very disappointing to see her work so hard. The story that woman, the life that she's lived, it's in her music. I don't want to get into too much detail, but you talk about women's empowerment. You talk about a woman that was left for dead, abused in every possible way, physically, sexually, mentally abused. And she's out there making kick-ass music, putting on a kick-ass show with real musicians. And I'm not saying that the guys at Body Count aren't real musicians, because there's some good musicians in the band. But what I'm saying is, people don't think of Body Count. They don't think of the other 4 guys in the band. It's Ice-T. It's 2021. It's Ice-T. It's all about equity. We need to give it to Ice-T because whatever. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it wasn't going to be Poppy. It wasn't going to be Code Orange, even though they're a good up and coming band. They haven't paid their dues yet, as far as I'm concerned. But a band like In This Moment in 2021, they were the perfect. The Grammys could have made a statement and said,
they really
going to give it to a real band that deserves it. And gave that award In This Moment.
Before we close out, there's always a term that's always put out there in a lot of these Grammys and these rap shows and pop shows, and it's always, yo, so drop that beat. Well, I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you get that excited from that, I encourage you the next time there's a big festival out there, go watch a band like Miss May I. Watch them do a song like Hey Mister. And when they drop that beat right after he gets through his little Sonic Proverio in the beginning, you're gonna be hooked for life.
Yeah,
I guarantee you will be hooked for life. You know, that was a big reason why Body Count. Ice-T became a metal fan in a sense. He didn't just do this as a novelty beginning. He loved the music. There's a lot of people out there. It doesn't, skin color has nothing to do with the music. Some of the best bands that are led by people are of African-American color. Sepultura, amongst others. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Sepultura, Seven Dust. I mean, these are guys. I mean, Killswitch Engage up until recently by Howard Jones. His new band, Buried the Torch. Or Light the Torch. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with that, but it's just this climate. And every metalhead that I know, every rock fan that I know, if they even bothered to pick up the newspaper and read that, we're disgusted. Guys in our own band, people that I know are just disgusted. People that are even even just a little bit hard rock and metal fans are shaking their head and scratching their head, going, "Well, this is the new Jethro Tull. This is Jethro Tull revisited 10 years ago, just for a different reason now, though." And it's just,
it reminds me of one other thing. Something about metal. Most metal bands, most people involved in metal are very transparent, very humble. Okay. You can't do that with a band today, a group today. Let's say for some reason Kanye West comes out with an album. Any negativity on him, he lashes out at you with such anger and disdain because how dare you judge his talent? Well, I'm going to tell you something about one of the last shows that I saw with the great Mitch Lucker from Suicide Silence. So we're over here on the second stage, and he comes out there, and his album was not well received.
Yeah.
So the first thing he said to the crowd, we're all out there. It's 100-something degrees out in the Inland Empire and stuff. We're all dirty and stuff, drinking our little rock stars. And he walks out there and he goes, "Hey, what's up, everybody?" He's all, "Hey, I guess a lot of you weren't really feeling the new album. Well, I'm going to tell you what. I promise next time we'll do better." He's all, "I'm Mitch Lucker. We're Suicide Silence, Riverside, California." And that's
yeah. Like you said, it's that humility. It's that humility that comes with this style of music. With that style of music,
man.
Yeah.
If you don't have thick skin, my brother see me in the studio, just torn apart by freaking producers, man, and I just suck it up, dude. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
hey, you know what though? Hey, I do gotta say something. That my brother's band, Reclaim the Sky, you guys, you're amazing. And if you're watching this podcast, you need to Google Reclaim the Sky. And actually listen to some of their music, man. It's amazing.
Look at it. Thank you, brother, for saying that. Thank you, bro. Thank you for that. At the end of the day, I've had people on, Twitter and people on social media love our stuff, absolutely love it. People come up to us. We've met at shows and festivals where we've either been just there as spectators or they're performing, come up to us and tell us, "Hey, you know what, man? That one song that you wrote and that you did, I saw you perform, man, that saved my life because I was contemplating suicide." And that song, the meaning of that song, and that's happened to us. But then of course you're going to have your detractors and your haters. "Oh, you guys suck. You're this, you're that, whatever." Okay, that's fine. At the end of the day, listen, I will never knock another musician from trying to create and doing what they're doing. I just want them to do it organically. I want them to be real about it. I don't want the Cliff Notes version of music. I want real music. I don't care if you make it on your laptop or I don't care if you make it in the studio with live instrumentation, but it's got to be real. Don't be sampling other people's music and doing all this computer generated nonsense and then call yourself a musician. Like these rappers today, rappers and these artists like Cardi B, whoever these people are, they're performers. They're performers and they're in their own right. They are artists because they're whatever they do, whatever art form you want to call that. I mean, Yoko Ono is an artist. Nobody would say Yoko Ono's a musician, right? And she's got a big following. So what does that tell you? Just be real about it. Be organic.
Got some people in this world with some really bad taste. I'll tell you that.
That's exactly what it means.
Yeah.
Like I say, man, give me Slipknot in the desert. Well, he can't do it anymore. Give me Neil. Like there were certain things I never missed. Neil Peart's fucking drum solo. You guys just take me every year on my birthday, man. Rush every year, man.
Yeah, we don't get to see that anymore.
You guys remember that contest we won at that that Chuck E. Cheese back when I was a kid. They get the
Oh,
first
now
grade.
you're digging deep, dude. We'll have to
No,
say that.
hey,
We'll have to say that for
remember-
the next show.
No. You remember the they
Oh,
gave
Dio,
me Ronnie James
Dio.
Dio.
Ronnie James Dio tickets.
That made me a
Yeah.
fan, man. The
Yeah.
late Ronnie James Dio made me
Yeah.
want to be a metalhead, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
That was
anyways,
cool.
well, I guess we'll go ahead and close on that.
Yeah.
We'll be back obviously on Sunday to recap what we think is going to be a good weekend of fights. The Ortiz Hooker fight. Better be is fighting also, right? But I'm
Yes,
not
he
even
is.
I'm not even sure where you can see that fight because that's coming from like Moscow or something.
I'm
So
sure
I'm
you
not
can find an illegal stream out there somewhere from
I-
Russia.
Yeah,
Well, no,
maybe.
I saw on I saw that it is going to be played somewhere up here anyway. I did see that. It better
Okay,
be.
well, I'll try to watch it because we're probably gonna have to wake up either really, really early Saturday or late Friday night. Because what are they? 14, 12, 10, 14? No, Russia's
I
like
got it
10,
set to
10,
record.
12 hours.
I don't
10,
know if that
12.
fight's gonna be worth it. I'm gonna be dead like the Tim Zoo one. I don't know if I can do that again, bro.
Yeah.
That kills me.
But tune in to DAZN on Saturday night to watch the Maurice Hooker, Virgil Ortiz. They put together a pretty good little undercard too, so that's good. But the main event might be worth the price of admission right there. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
that one fight. So
Sounds good, brothers. Hey,
Eric,
Once
continue
again, guys, I'm
success,
sorry
bro.
I'm late, man.
No,
Once again,
continue working on your thing and just keep us updated on how things are going up there, man. With the
Yeah.
business,
Yeah.
do your thing.
Well, we're trying. We're doing everything we can. So,
So
if Oregon's governor would get her head out of her ass, I think we'd be okay.
It's like I tell my kids and my wife every day. If you hate the world that you're a part of, make a new one. And that's the way I
Yeah.
feel, man. You can make a
Yeah.
world within the boundaries in
like
which you own.
like Denzel Washington said in Equalizer 2, change your world.
Change the world.
You guys ever seen that movie? It's a great movie.
Oh, I love it, dude.
I love
Yeah,
Denzel.
love
He's
it,
one of my
love it,
favorites.
love it. Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. So
Take us out.
I'm gonna take us out. So for all of us at Enter the Ring Live, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Sunday evening, 5:00 on the West Coast, 8:00 Eastern, right here. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Hit the like
Please,
button.
yes.
Share it. Check out Reclaim the Sky. Check out
Well-
Cinescapes
We'll send you some beef jerky.
or Mighty Mike.
AJ Rage.
And Eric the